Well, and good evening. Let me get this light on. Welcome on this Saturday night on Talking Sip, and want to welcome everyone for on today, the 16th of the 11th, 2024. Into December. We're in November here. I want to thank for those who are joining me on YouTube, those who are joining me on Facebook, those who are joining me also on TikTok, and also especially on Instagram. I always say that the persons who are joining me on TikTok, you're just only seeing just my face. There you are on TikTok, you're only seeing just my face. But if you go onto YouTube, which is at Silburn TV, you're able to actually see the guest as well. And so you can see more. Well, last week we had a very interesting show. Last week we had the Summer Bells and Gore, the Jamaican race drivers, and that was really a very good show. Last week Saturday night, I tend to find myself not going over into the full 2 hours because I believe that the essence of the show was completed then and there. And funnily, I also received a message from a gentleman who is into polo in the UK, a Jamaican gentleman from St. Catherine. We're going to get an opportunity to have an interview with him, talk about polo in the UK. My philosophy is that it's not about sometimes that we have arrived, it's that we have always been here. And the narrative is always, as someone says, is always written and created by the victors. But actually, in real terms, we've always been here. But anyway, Saturday night, and I always say on Talk and Sip, what are you drinking, ladies and gentlemen? What are you drinking tonight? You know, you're drinking wine, you're drinking coconut water, you're drinking some concoction, or you're drinking anything, or you're drinking crystal punch. Just for myself, I'm just gonna have some water tonight, um, crystal punch, but also, was on the road earlier today, so a nice little glass of red wine canty um, will suffice. Tend not to be a drink or anything like that, but you can say like what you want to drink, you know. And tonight, later on, I'll have a couple guests. You know, will be gracing the discussion tonight, and they're from the anti-racist movement, a healing space for Black women in social work. There'll be Miss Shantel Thomas, who is the founder, director, and chief visionary. And I'll also be having Dr. Sylvia Spett, founding member, wise elder, to talk about this very interesting area of topic. And also, all being well, I should be able to have the president of the social workers from Jamaica, who is going to be joining later as well, and for this discussion, because I believe that the the whole area of this profession. Sometimes people see everything look hunky dory and everything look nice, but also that there's deep things also that needs to be addressed. But without further ado, let's start the show and let's get going. One of the things that I've not been doing a lot these last days, cheers, is having a lot of discussion in regards to Jamaica. Um, and I don't know why, but I believe that you know there's so many things which are happening in Jamaica, and I was going to get Mr. Uj to come on to have a sort of update as to what's going down. I think they said there's a new hurricane which is on our storm named Sarah. I think as Frankie Paul, Sarah. Is it Frankie Paul? But anyhow, Sarah there. There's also the NIDS. The NIDS, that is the national identification bit, which the prime minister steered and which is the government is steering. I believe that the prime minister is starting that whole the ball game going regarding national identification for Jamaicans, making it much easier. That is in the pipeline as well. And also another thing which is in the pipeline is that there's the upcoming by-elections. Now I don't remember the dates for this by-election. Um, and I don't remember, the nomination has been closed already because what I got to understand even from Mr. UIC, Mr. Joseph Patterson, was that they weren't able to nominate the two of the persons for the parliamentary candidates and maybe even for the council candidates as well, because of the fact that they weren't able to make it there on a particular time. So I don't know how many independents there. I think there's a guy named Mr. Gillens or so. It's independent. But one of the things that I always say though is that whenever there's an election, whenever there is an election, election, I believe that the people should always have the opportunity to choose wisely out of the various individuals, various parties that is putting themselves forward to be elected. Now, what do you think about that? Now, I understand that the People's National Party is not putting anyone forward because the policy of them is that not doing an election era or election period, because election in Jamaica is constitutionally due in 2025 in September. 2025 in September. That is when it is constitutionally due. But I do believe that at any election, at every election, that the people should have an opportunity with various options. That's what I believe. But at the same time, I can understand, if anything, if that's what the People's National Party wants, whereby, not to contest or put anyone forward. But I understood that Shaheen Robinson actually came into power in that light, in that same breath, whereby they didn't contest, and they're, so therefore I believe it's a death knell in a way, whereby one is not wanting to choose to put people forward for an alternative. The recent by-election, which was in Northeast Centre, you had Mr. Samuda who won it with about 4,000 or less than 5,000 people who actually came and voted for that particular election. And there was 4,000 to 5,000, I believe, was on the electoral list in that area. Now that is very interesting. But something I find very amusing, and I played it on Saturday night, I played it on Thursday night, and it was the it was the Prime Minister going through a particular area in Jamaica. I think on a campaign trail or so, went to a village, and while he was there, he went on a bridge, and while on the bridge, he sort of made a sound to the guy, his security guy who was following him. I think his name is Gary, and said, "Gary, listen, about follow me, and I'm drop off of the bridge." And I played. I find it very amusing, and I find it's a very light moment, and I think it should be what it is. And here we go. We can go.
On the bridge,
You good?
Yeah. So there it is. To say, Gary, don't come from the bridge while I'm on it. Gary, don't come on the bridge while I'm up on the bridge. Don't make me fall off of the bridge or something like that. I found it very amusing, as much as possible. It reminds me of when Joe Biden met up with President-elect Trump in recent days. And something which I saw, which was very interesting, and I just touch on these different things while we wait to get the show going.
Donald, congratulations. And looking forward to having like we said, a smooth transition. Do everything we can to make sure you're accommodated, what you need. And we're going to get a chance to talk about some of that today. So
good.
Welcome
Thank you
back.
very much. And thank you very much. And politics is tough. And it's, in many cases, not a very nice world, but it is a nice world today, and I appreciate very much a transition that's so smooth. It'll be as smooth as it can get, and I very much appreciate that, Jim.
You're welcome. Thank you all.
I stopped that right there. And one of the things that I saw about this mutual meeting between these two gentlemen, one is the president elect, and one is the president. Joe Biden, the president, and Donald Trump. They seem so at ease, so relaxed. I would say at ease and so relaxed. And then I looked at it in a way by saying, and people can say, you can tell me what you think. I see like Joe Biden feeling so ease and so relaxed. He's at his end game. He's at the end of his days, if anything, in in power. And somehow it strikes me like he's even so happy. It struck me like he's so happy that it's over. Or maybe he's happy that Kamala didn't win. I don't know which one. Maybe him and Jill Biden actually voted for Kamala, as some people have said. You know, and Donald Trump is also at the end game as well. I mean to say 4 more years and that's the end of it. He's not have to worry about trying to win another election. Donald Trump don't have to try to please anyone. You know, he's got a full mandate. He's got 4 years. He got the popular vote. He's got the Senate. He's got Congress, and he's got the electoral colleges. Right, full whammy, double whammy, powerful, powerful. And I believe that in life, and what I say in life, sometimes I believe that persons, you know, you sort of reach to that point where it's your end game, whereby you have worked very hard to achieve certain things in life. You have done your due diligence. And by virtue of doing your due diligence, what you're ready for now, you're ready to just work at it. You have nothing to prove. And I believe that that is something very powerful, which I've seen with these two persons. As for Kamala Harris, I don't know. Maybe she can wheel and come again, or maybe she can go the circuit like how Michelle Obama has done. Write some book and say, write a book like, okay, what if it was? What if it was? Or maybe she can wheel and come again and put herself forward for another round of election in 2028 or 2029. But what Trump has done, I see what Trump has done. Trump has surrounded himself with all these young people. Vance, I think he's maybe 39, going to 40 or so. Ruby, I mean, the foreign secretary, Tulsi, all these young, vibrant persons who are potential presidential candidates for the next election in 2028 or 29, or Barron Trump, or Eric Trump, or Donald Trump Jr. What does the Democrats have? That's what they got to do. I mean, it's just like with the Conservative Party in the UK. The Conservative Party is at present with Kemi Badenoch.
But he needs to answer from his mind. Yes. Speaking of making life
Responsible for the answers.
So he has made life more expensive with his unilateral commitments. But speaking of making life more expensive, will the Prime Minister confirm that he will keep the cap on council tax?
Mr. Speaker, she talks of the trip to COP. I'm very proud of the fact that we're restoring leadership on climate to this country, to the UK. Because that will be measured in lower bills on energy independence and the jobs of the future.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister can plant as many questions as is like with his backbenchers. But at the end of the day, I'm the one he has to face at the dispatch box. And I welcome him, Mr. Speaker. I welcome him back from... Mr. Speaker, I welcome the Prime Minister back from his trip to Azerbaijan, where he has unilaterally made commitments that will make life more experienced for everyone back home. Speaking of making life...
Somebody's suggesting reading. I think if you notice, the Prime Minister also reads. So please get your...
Okay, so there we are. Kemi Badenoch in the UK, charting a course, charting a pathway for herself. Some will say, yes, for herself. Is it for black people? Well, Kemi Badenoch didn't put herself forward to be the spokesperson for Black UK. She put herself to be the leader of the Conservative Party on one of the political parties in the UK. As a matter of fact, one of the most successful political party in the Western Hemisphere, the Conservative Party, and it's left to be seen how that unfold with Kemi Badenoch as time goes by, and as each week, as she, um, what should I say, being groomed into this position as the conservative leader, prospective potential prime minister, and she could be the first next woman prime minister, I'll say black prime minister, fully black, in the UK. And I believe that, you know, there's a saying, they're saying, like someone said to me earlier today, Roger that, Roger that. And they said, Roger that. And I said, why do they say Roger that? Why not say Mary that? Why not say Shantel that or so? And the whole bit about is the narratives. Who create these different narratives. You know what I'm trying to say? Hey, divine traveler, well go on. Who create these different narratives? Because they always say the victors are the one that create these narratives. But sometimes when we look at it, like sometimes they say the first black person, oh, black people has reached to this point. And then I said, hang on a second. Who said that? Maybe black people have always been there. Who said Christopher Columbus or was the first one that went to the Caribbean? No, he was discovered because black people were traveling there many times before, you know. So these are the things, you know, that we've got to look at. But listen, you know, tonight I'm going to be talking a bit about anti-racist movement, a healing space for black women in social work, you know. Anti-racist movement A.R.M emerged in 2022 as a transformative force within the realm of social work, providing a dedicated space for black women to confront and dismantle the pervasive forces of racism, misogyny, and intersectional oppression, born out of a collective desire to address the unique challenges faced by black female social work professionals. A.R.M, and I repeat, it means anti-racist movement, served as a sanctuary for healing, advocacy, and community building. The inception of A.R.M can be traced back to a pivotal discussion among black female social work professionals who recognize a void in existing spaces for addressing the nuanced experience of black racism. You know, and my guests will speak more about that later. And I'll be joined tonight by Shantel Thomas, founder, director, chief visionary. She journeyed into the profession began as a teenager, where she was supported by a charity, navigating the challenges of teenage motherhood. And throughout her career, Shantel has demonstrated a deep commitment to addressing systematic inequalities and empowering global majority communities. And she said, through her resilience, compassion, and unwavering commitment to social justice, she said, I believe I embody the values and principles of the social work profession. I will tirelessly continue in my effort to challenge systems of oppression and create a more just and equitable society. And I will also be joined by Dr. Sylvia Smith, founding member, wise elder. First encounter with social work was at the age of about 12 when her parents agreed to care for a teenage cousin who had troubles at home with her mom and stepfather. She said her association with A.R.M came somewhat reluctantly. And if she was honest, I wonder if I have any more gas in the tank. But she's happy to say that working alongside these beautiful women are committed and driving to making a difference. And I believe it's a powerful thing. And I just met these ladies just off recent days, a mutual connection. And without further ado, I said, let me just bring them onto the show. Normally, I think twice and plan it for a while and get the different information. But waboom, in one day, I just said, let me just do this and let's really rack it up as much as possible. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in the ladies. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome, Miss Shantel Thomas. How are you, Shantel? How are you doing?
I am good. I am good. Thank you. Good evening. Good night. Good day, everybody. Good.
Oh,
Good. Good.
oh,
Good.
yeah,
Good.
yeah,
All
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You had wanted some music.
I did what? Sorry.
You had wanted some music to
Yes.
introduce me.
Yes. Yes.
Hey,
Woo! That's a better
okay,
intro.
okay. Well, and then, well, ladies and gentlemen, let me just bring in Dr. Sylvia Smith. Let me give her one one. Which one won? Which one won?
Boy, I don't know, but my goodness, we need some of that, Shans.
I was about to say I liked your one too. I was jigging up myself to yours.
Yeah, me too,
Honestly,
me
me
too, me too.
in a
I was
in a
on a
sparkly
real
frock, you
jiggy.
know.
Let's
Well,
go, minorities.
well,
Thanks for having
well,
us, Sobon. Thanks for having us.
No,
yeah.
appreciate this,
Well,
man.
I want to say the second one of the reasons I hold that back a lot because there's some issues with some copyright thing on that particular tune which somebody made for me. So
Okay.
it's no problem. If any issues come up, you'll just find that Sylvia, you'll just find that there's no music for you because I'll have to cut that out.
You got
So
the
Oh,
booby. You got the
I'm gonna,
booby prize.
I'm gonna
so make we just
cry.
so make we
I'm gonna
just
get
enjoy it.
emotional,
Let us
Sobon.
just enjoy it for now.
All
Okay,
right.
all right, all right.
Well,
Better than nothing. Better than nothing.
Oh,
listen,
goodness.
ladies. I want to. Hold on. Let me hear what this person said. This person said number two. They like number two, all the
It's number
time.
two. Honestly, I believe number two as
Mm,
well. I gotta say that.
yeah, I need to sort out this thing with YouTube, and I need to go have a chat with them. Maybe
Yeah,
doctor, you
yeah,
can
yeah,
even
yeah.
put them on the spot.
Send the doctor. Always send the doctor.
Well, listen. I wanna thank you guys so much tonight for coming on and on this particular topic. And as I said later on, all being well, I should have Miss Jacqueline Bryan, who is from the, as a matter of fact, who is from the president of social workers from Jamaica as well. But first of all, founder Shantel Thomas, tell us about um, anti-racist movement. I gave us a brief summary, but
You
tell us about
did.
what the
You
vision,
did.
what the drive is, and who you reach. Yeah. Mm,
Oh goodness me! It's a precious. It's precious.
mm.
It's precious to me. It's a space that I always, something you always dream about.
Yes.
And we talk about creating a space or creating something that or creating the change that you want to see. Being the
Yes.
change you want to see.
Yes.
So I've been a social worker for nearly 15 years. Sylvia's been much, much, much longer than me. My wise elder, as I call her. But yeah, I talk about not understanding racism until I entered the profession,
Mhm.
and the barriers and the hurdles and the fights, internally, within the organization that you have to overcome. And I think it's doubly or even triply impactful as a black woman,
Yes.
having to go into a profession that is so emotional, is so emotive, it's so demanding, but then also having to advocate for others who are in similar situations, or more or less worse situations, but
Yes.
sometimes going through the same challenges as us as well. So yeah, it was built off of that. The drive comes from the black women that are around me, that are in the space. It is predominantly social workers, but there are other professionals, allied professionals as well. And it is
Mm.
about, as I mentioned, holding a authentic space where we can just be, and
Yes.
we can visualize and we can strategize about how best we can navigate this hostile world that often doesn't see us.
Right. Right. And Dr. Smith,
Hi.
hi. How are you? Tone it down. Yeah. So tell us about your association with ARM and the vision.
Yeah, I mean, I think in your intro,
Mm.
you kind of captured where I was at in terms
Yes.
of my own career. I mean, as Chantel likes to share, I've been a qualified social worker. Next year will be 40 years,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I entered it prior to even qualifying because I started my first course when I was about 16.
Mm.
So in a way, I kind of felt I was coming towards the end of my career. Um, I do other things, and I was wanting to explore
Yes.
those other things more fully. But then I met Shantel Thomas,
Mm.
um, and we worked together initially. Interestingly, I was her mentor to
Yes.
She
begin
was
with,
my wise
and
elder. I told you.
yes, yes, and the whole plan was I would be her mentor, and then I would leave her to get on with it. The woman not release me yet.
Yeah.
She not release me. So, and then
Don't be
of
like
course,
that.
what she opened up was a whole world in terms of this particular organization,
Mm.
anti-racist movement, and the vision in terms of what they wanted to achieve. Obviously, I've been around the block a few times. There's an aspect of me feels or felt somewhat cynical about how much change can actually happen in this society
Yeah.
because we, those of us who have been there, we kind of like, well, we've been there, done it, worn the t-shirt. However, we've got a new generation coming up behind us, or many generations coming up behind us, and you know, it felt like a responsibility to pursue some kind of legacy, get involved. Um, So yeah, it was that whole kind of come on, Sylv, you've still got more to offer, you've still got more to give.
Yes.
Um, and as I say, the rest is history, really. So I really feel that what we're trying to do in ARM is absolutely worth it.
Yes.
And I can obviously share the benefit of my experience along with others who are older. Who are
You,
older.
yeah. I was listening to Denzel Washington recently.
Mhm.
Um, and they were asking, he said something about retire, and he said he's supposed to do a Black Panther thing. And he said
Mhm.
the word retire. He said what he's doing is returning. He said he has been at the
Mm,
start, been there, going through a lot of things, and being at the top of the game. But now the retire bit is not about retiring; it's about returning. It's about
returning.
giving back now. And when I listened to you, Dr. Smith, a while ago, it's
Mhm.
like you're now seeing the new breed. Like he said, he can't compete with all these new guys in
No,
gladiators
absolutely
and
not.
everything like that. He's now returning, giving back. Is it that where you see your guys now at returning back, seeing this new breed of persons coming up, and you've been through it, and you want to make it
Mhm.
easier for them, passing the baton
Yeah,
down?
I mean, I don't want to sort of dwell too much on our kind of like full experience, right? Because in
Mm,
a way, one of the things I think us elders have an issue with sometimes is that we kind of go on about how much we've done and what we've done and how we've done it and what I think we need to try to do. And I struggle with this as well. Chantel and I always have arguments because Chantel is a younger woman than I am, and
yes.
she is very impatient for change, which I don't blame her. I was
Mm,
impatient for change when I was, coming through. So it's a balance between allowing our younger people to express themselves and
yes.
embrace that energy and drive, but at the same time trying to temper it with some degree of with
Reality.
Mm,
reality and wisdom and so on. But
Mm.
you don't want to kill the enthusiasm.
yes.
So I try not to be about that. Don't always succeed, but I try not to be about that because I think you know younger people have absolutely something to offer, and one of the big things they have to offer is energy.
Yes.
Mm.
Um, Along with everything else.
Yeah. Chantal, can you trace us back to that moment, that time? I'd like to capture that initial pivotal discussion among Black female social workers when where it started to pull together, where you put it out there, then all of a sudden you realize, hang on a second, this thing is big. You just saw it like an idea, but then it gained a momentum.
I can bring you back to the initial discussion when we knew it was big. My vision was always for it to be big.
Yes.
I didn't. Well, I probably did always vocalize it, but I'm not sure if everybody believed it. But that was okay because it was my vision, you
Yeah.
know. But it was a conversation in November 2022, or was it October? Actually, it was October 22 at a community care live event. So community care
Yes.
live is a social work event that happens every year in What happened again, Sylv? Angel in the business
Angel, yeah,
center.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And it's something I've always attended as a student. You know, you get lots of freebies. But seriously, it's the it's where, you know, all the different local authorities will come and advertise jobs, and you know, you meet up with other social workers, whether you're students or qualified or what have you. They have talks, and it's a good CPD event. You know, continual
Yes.
professional development event, and a space for networking. So I had so for the last few years I've been doing like a keynote or a panel discussion around anti-racism. Prior to, you know, the A.R.M, I was anti-racism lead for BASWA, the British Association of Social Work. So then that gave a national platform, and that really gave me the vision to see what was happening across the country. So this is all post George Floyd, you know, when everybody was trying to get their house in order and realizing, oh my gosh, you know, we've got all these problems, what we're going to do. And everybody was creating these roles. So I was in the role as anti-racism lead. As part of that role, I was, you know, speaking on different platforms. So I just finished a panel discussion speaking about anti-racist practice and what needed to happen for the future, blah, blah, blah. And myself and some colleagues, you know, sat down and we just talked about how tired we were of having these discussions, how tired we were of just feeling kind of isolated, working in silos. Because again, what happens when you're in these spaces, particularly when it's your personal experience as well as your professional experience, you know, you don't have the energy to keep talking about it, to try and strategize. You just deal with the problem in the moment and then go back home to your family and then wake up for the next morning again. And then we kept, you know, we said like, how can we create a space where we can all, you know, come together? So we said, okay, let's what would that look like? You know, I said, right, let me put out a tweet. So I put out a tweet, put out a LinkedIn a message, kind of asking who else needs a space like this, and the rest is history, really. 2 years later, we're winning awards. You know, 2 years. I still can't believe it's 2 years. So yeah, so that's kind of how it felt. We're still not where we want to be, Silborn. I'm going to be honest with you. You know, at the moment, you know, yes, 2 years, and we've won a social justice award, and we can talk a bit more about that later. And this is the dress that I wore to the event last week, so don't judge me, but I have washed it, just saying. The glittery, because winners wear gold, you know, winners wear gold. Sorry, I just had to say that.
Oh,
But
God.
yeah, I see us going global. I do see us going global. I see them having smaller arms across the country.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to be there's so much I can see that can develop from this. And they will say, don't chat your business, don't talk, but of course I'm putting it out there because I
Mm.
believe it. I believe it in my soul. I believe that this is my calling. I believe this is my destiny. So I'm going to talk it.
Yeah. You guys say anti-racist movement, but the anti-racist movement is like the umbrella factor. There are other areas below it, isn't it, Dr. Smith?
Yeah,
Or
I mean,
Shantel, you, yeah, whichever one. Yeah.
Go on, Sylv, you can go.
okay, okay. The anti-racist movement is composed at the moment of a couple of sections. So we have a regular meeting space
Mm.
where we meet monthly, and this is an opportunity for our members to bid for space, to share stuff that's on their mind, stuff that's
Mm.
troubling them, stuff that they're really struggling with in terms of racism, basically.
Mm,
Call
So
a spade a
those,
spade. Yeah.
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 So folk will bid for a space, and we as a group listen to their sharing very, very intently.
Yes.
And then, you know, obviously we then go on to try and help them to process that. So that's something that happens.
Mm.
We also have a book club, which is something where we kind of feel we're also wanting to learn together. So we choose a book. We're reading one at the moment called Safe, and interestingly, it's all about the experience of Black men.
Yeah.
So each,
Is that black men in the social workspace, or black men?
no, no, no,
No,
no, no,
generally.
no. Generally, really good book.
It is.
Highly recommend it.
But remember the one before was Rest is Resistance. Remember that one?
That's
And that was
That's right.
really important one. Just sorry to cut you, Saul, but that
Yeah.
book was so important because what we found is, as Black women, particularly, and I know I keep focusing on Black women, but I'm a Black woman, so I'm speaking from my lived experience. And as I mentioned, the kind of double whammy of being Black and being female. But
Yes.
what we find is that, you know, we're told, you know, you work until you're tired, you don't rest. If you rest, you're lazy. There's this narrative that we've been fed, and you mentioned that in your intro as well, Sylvan, about these narratives and who's giving us, who's writing these narratives, and whose
Yes.
benefit, whose interest do they serve. And by us always being tired, being miserable, not showing up in our full selves, is
Mm,
part of the slavery mentality, is part of the colonialism, is part of the brainwashing that we've
mm.
gone through. So the first book we read was Rest is Resistance, and a part of that was trying to unlearn all of the unhelpful,
Yes.
unhealthy things that we had been taught
But, but
growing up.
but let me hop in here. I have a
Okay.
son. I'm the mother of a son, and as a young black man, I'm particularly keen to understand further his experience living in this world. And of course, once you have your kids, I know that my son constantly talks to me about his experience, his lived
Mm,
experience in the world. So,
Mm.
yeah, we're obviously concerned about that as well. And so we have this book club. What's the other thing we do?
podcast.
Well,
We got the
oh, the
podcast.
podcast.
Mm. Yeah.
I often have to remind her. I often have
Yes,
to remind her things. Go on.
a senior moment. A senior moment. We also have a podcast, and I mean that's something that's developing. I mean, I personally have my own podcast,
Mm.
so it wasn't a huge leap
Mm,
to move into also assisting with the podcast for A.R.M. And again, in 2025, no doubt we'll have more, bigger, better
Mm.
productions as far as that's concerned. And then, of course, we've taken on having sort of annual conferences, and
Yeah.
that's
mm,
what we're going to be doing next week.
But
right.
Not this time.
yeah, before we go into that, there,
Yeah.
you mentioned something about production, and I've seen a video, which I played it because you guys are in the production, so I just play it.
No, my God. Oh.
I see you. The fight against racism is critical. The care must be intensive.
Why on earth? Honestly, you should
Okay,
have seen. You should have seen the unedited version, Silborn.
yeah,
If you saw the unedited
yeah.
version, honestly, we got
So
into
so
acting.
yeah, so while at the same time it's a laughing moment right there, but a very serious thing
No, it is
below it, in it. If you can explain the the essence of that video
that
there
video.
and what the message you're trying to convey.
I'll go. Okay. So the whole idea around it, again, we're laughing, and
Yeah,
that again is part of our strategy, is to remember the joy. We're not all about pain. Yes, this is, I'm not saying it's funny what we're doing or what we're talking about. We do serious work. We're serious people. We're qualified. We're ambitious. And we're dedicated to what we do. But at the same time, we're not going to make this work kill us.
yeah,
And it's important that we remember to smile. Black joy is beautiful, and it's important that we remember that. So basically, the idea of the video was to kind of promote the conference. The conference that's coming up next week is entitled ICU or
yeah.
ICU. And it's kind of using the analogy of the intensive care unit in the hospital.
Mm,
And how, talking about how racism is critical, it's critical at this
mm,
moment. And if, in order to overcome, or in order to kind of stand together, we have to think about the care in a collective way. Because what society wants us to do now is to be individual, to stay on your own. Why? Because it's easier for you to break down. It's easier for you to be overcome with stress and emotion. And what we're saying is we're going back to our roots. We're used to the
mm,
village raising the children. We're used to being together as a family. Different generations all living,
mm.
working, playing together. And it's about that collective mentality that we're trying to kind of reinforce. And what we realize is that when we come together, the joy. When I say we, there's
Yeah.
6 of us as the driving forces of A.R.M, and then we have a wider membership. So when we are planning and strategizing, we always try to bring some joy in there. And we've got some creatives in the group, and that's kind of where the idea came from,
Yeah.
to kind of do
Well,
a little skit.
well, I tell you one of the things that I do. I like to be a connector Somebody just said Nicola Martin. Is that right? Is that my neighbor from Jamaica? Is that my neighbor?
I think that's my Trinidad. That's our Trinidad colleague. I think.
Oh,
Ain't
no,
that,
yeah,
ain't that Nicola?
No. It's
okay, I know
Nick's,
Nicola.
Nick's, yeah, Nick's.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
our Trinidad one.
Isn't
Okay.
isn't this also Men's Mental Health Month? That someone just said that, you know.
Oh.
But what I want to say is that I've also, because I like to connect people, I've actually reached out to Jacqueline Bryan. She's the president of social workers in Jamaica, to also join in as well
Beautiful.
into this discussion. And I'm going to just bring her in now at the same time so we can have a conversation. Hi, Jacqueline. How are you doing?
Hi, Silburn. Hi, ladies.
Hi,
Hello.
Jacqueline.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm excited. Why do I think I'm meeting a superstar? Hello.
Yeah. I wish I could be there for your conference, honestly.
Honestly,
But I'm in
we'd love to
Jamaica.
welcome you. Honestly.
I'm in Jamaica, and as usual, Silburn is always trying to make connections. I love the idea of your book club, because we are Jazzwar. I've been talking about starting one. We have about 4 different books by 4 Jamaican
Oh, nice.
women who have been some of them are trained social workers, some of them have been working in the social work field, and I'm going to be sending the information about these women and the books that they have written. One of them I'm very, very proud of, because I work as a guidance counselor in a high school, and this young lady decided to become a social worker because of the input. I forgot the input that I put in her life, and she reminded me, and she's written a book called The Perfect Picture as a social worker. Going to be doing her master's this year. So that's one of them. And I'm very, very, very wonderful that you're having this conference. I know some of the racism that you speak about. We have a lot of Jamaicans who are coming into the UK to work. As a social work association, we get requests for recommendation. Are these persons members of your organization? What have they been doing? So we know that there is social workers who are coming into the UK and who maybe have never encountered
I was going to say, they're not
racism.
prepared, are they? They're not prepared.
They're not prepared for this. So this is something that we can maybe do a webinar, where they can learn about the experiences of others and share. So this thank God for technology that we can do this.
Honestly.
And thank God for so many.
And Jacqueline, link them up with us, because if they're coming
I
in,
will.
link them up with us. Link them up.
We
with
will
us.
will, because
scoop them up
that's
and
part of
hug
what we
them.
do as social workers, networking. Part of what we do as social workers is networking, is
100%.
bringing the link. So Silburn has been helping us with our networking capabilities. That's what all the time. So kudos to Silburn for always doing this.
Of course. I met Silburn yesterday. Jacqueline, yesterday was the first time I got his number. I called him this morning, and I'm on his platform today. This is what I mean. This is the speed. I'm telling you.
That's how he works.
He said, send me some information. Send me, I'd have said, send it straight over to
there
him.
We are. We're together, making the link and talking about, because our Jamaican social workers need to have this information, so that when they transition into the UK social work platform, because there are recruiters who are recruiting social workers.
I know.
And can I just ask Jacqueline and you guys, when the recruiters recruit them, they just recruit them for making money in a way that they don't really deal with some issues that they should be aware of.
They don't care about all of that. It's a money-making business. So that's another thing I was fighting against as well, because it reminds me of Windrush. When they came to Jamaica or came to the Caribbean and said, come over and help build this, come and fill the gap. There's a massive gap in social care in terms of labor and resource. And what they're doing again, they're extracting from the Caribbean, from Africa, from India, and taking those resources from these countries and bringing them into a space that's hostile without any preparation, and expecting people to just survive. And also what they're not doing is doing any work with the local authorities to welcome these new arrivals, and that's the bit that hurts me. That's the part that hurts me.
No. You're quite right. And there are some of our young social workers who have no clue about Windrush. They have no clue about what the UK is like. They're just seeing that the money that they're earning is more than what they're earning in Jamaica, which is a sad thing. As I have been talking, I've been lobbying. We have. I did a presentation recently. Our caseload is 150 cases as a social worker that we have, and that's one of the reasons our social workers are leaving, because when they come to the UK, they're going to have a less caseload.
Well.
Can you guys elaborate on the list?
We have social workers that are coming out of the universities. We have University of the West Indies. We have Jamaica Theological Seminary. We have Northern Caribbean University. We have Monique. That is we have UC University Commonwealth College, who's churning out social workers every year, and they come through Jamaica Association of Social Workers, and we can't find jobs for them because they take the social work jobs are being given everybody with a university degree.
Yeah.
Because we are not legislators, we're not licensed, and when we approach the government to set up the formation to do this,
they don't want to.
It's not happening. They don't want to happen, because if it's licensed and legislation happen, then you are going to have to give social workers those jobs.
Can I just hop in right here? And can I just ask Shantel and Dr. Smith, this event, which is on the 22nd next week, 9:30 a.m., is there a facility for it to be streamed by chance?
Well, it's something we talked about, because obviously we would love to have a kind of a hybrid kind of facility.
Yeah.
But I think what you need to appreciate is that we are still very much in our early phases.
Yes.
In actual fact, last year when we had the
1 year one, it was last year.
Yeah. She actually did her presentation online.
Yes.
What was her name? I can't remember her name.
Her name was, oh my goodness, Rosemary Campbell Stevens.
Okay. And
she's worked in education.
Yeah. So she's based in Jamaica. So we had her stream the keynote speech. Yeah. Ideally, we would love to have this in a kind of a hybrid situation.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. To take in some comments from persons at the same time, and then I'm going to ask you to just sort of set out the program for this next week as well. Comments. Divine Chavez, I love it. Nicole Martin, what you said, isn't this also Men's Mental Health Month? And I think what you guys are talking about is that you're going to branch off into dealing with men as well, isn't it? Beyond that. Shelley and Brown, I definitely want to read the book. Just remind me of the book again, and maybe you can send me what's the book that you
So the first one was Rest is Resistance. Yeah, that was the first one, and that's by Trisha Hershey. She's all over in YouTube and other platforms, Instagram. Took the Nat Minister, she's really kind of made a thing about rest and the importance of rest, and not asking to rest and what have you. Really, really good work. And the other one was Safe, which is about Black masculinity, particularly the Black British perspective.
Dr. Smith, if you might, one of you guys can type it and WhatsApp it to me in the meantime, so I can also put that figure up there. And also, Shelley Brown, I totally agree. I work with social workers from South Africa, and they are never prepared for the racism that they face. Somebody said, I get the Jamaica connection, but don't we weaken ourselves when we separate the West Indies? You understand what they're saying?
I think they must be talking about Jamaica different from the other Caribbean islands, but I'm not sure.
I think what they're talking about is the fact that we're Caribbean and we need to include the other social workers. We do partner with Barbados social workers.
Yes.
We do have linkages with Trinidad as well. So that is something. When we come together as Caribbean social workers, it helps. There's the educators, the social workers, educators, and that's a Caribbean and regional. It takes in Belize, it takes in social workers who are educators, who train other social workers all over the diaspora. So that is what I think that person was talking about in terms of keeping, because when unity is strength, And when we come together as Caribbean social workers, then that is fabulous. And I'm going to start making sure that
that happens a lot more. Yeah, and that's our mantra. It's about collective, you know. It's about the collective. It's about we're stronger together, you know. That's how we you know, divided we stand.
United we stand, divided we
United
fall.
we stand, divided we fall. There you go.
What are we drinking tonight, by the chance? Anybody drinking anything? I mean,
yes, darling. Me have a look at Baileys.
Yeah, Baileys.
I'm on the road still, so I ain't drinking.
You
know when they say you're on the road.
I'm Jacqueline. Well, let me tell you, this isn't rum. This is water. All right.
Okay. All right.
Where's Brandy, Sylvia? Where's Brandy?
Huh?
She's a brandy drinker. Watch her.
I had to keep my head. We're having a serious discussion.
Earlier, my mother did some June plum with passion.
Oh wow!
And that was them out of my backyard, actually. The June plum and
you see, and that's why I missed the see.
No, I know it's for show off.
It's so working, honestly.
We can get one sour apple in our garden. We can get one sour apple.
But I said, look here, I never build a house so big that me not have no yard space. So I make sure I plant up all kind of fruit tree. My friends stopped by and I was able to give them sweet sap to eat. So I have sweet sap, I have June plum, I have my callaloo. We're in my backyard.
We're coming.
I want to mind.
We're coming.
Just reminded that I have the ackee tree. And I have all of that in my backyard. Breadfruit.
I'm done.
No more. On the front. Guava is one. I just planted a couple of pear seed the other day, and it's starting to grow.
Sylvia, can you mute her now, please? Can you mute her? Can you mute her, please?
Let me tell you. I bought 2 avocados last Sunday. Up to now, them not ripe.
Yeah.
Up to now, them not ripe.
Don't eat them. That's not good.
Them start there, I'm going to make you know about it.
They're not good.
I'm going to make you know about it.
She brought a sorrel beer. Sorrel beer. She brought.
I love a sorrel beer. Honestly, I think they're nice.
Sylvia drinking water chase with rum. All right, Sylvia. All right. Don't bother with it.
Some sorrel and Raphael come and treat them very badly. So I'm not going to have no sorrel this year.
Oh gosh.
Yes. So tell us now. Yeah, tell us about this. I just want to break down, and for persons listening, and we got some social workers on as well for the event next week. Break it down a bit more for next week. Friday.
Friday. You want to run in order? Okay.
Well, that's also give us an idea.
Let me give you. We have a keynote. So we have a keynote speaker. We have a psychotherapist, a black woman. Again, we're very keen on promoting our own. So it's a black woman. Her name is Dr. Agnes Bryan, and she's done a lot.
Is she related to Jacqueline Bryan?
Gosh, she's from Grenada, isn't she?
We're related.
Yeah, it's probably related for true. Yeah, Grenada, but it doesn't matter. Remember the Caribbean, we stretch over, you know. We are one. But yes. So there you go. We definitely are. So she's coming to do a kind of keynote Q&A with Sylvia. So they're going to be doing that for the first part. Then we're going to go into our workshop. So we have 5 workshops. Covering different themes. So one's around men in the movement, one is around writing and the power, the healing of writing and publishing. Yes. And I remember saying to you, Silborn, about if we don't write our own stories or write our own narratives, other people are going to write it for us. So how do we use that, and how do we use writing as a way of healing? So that's really, really important. Sylvan and another colleague is going to do a space around anti-racist trainers and people who are training in facilitating space workshops in around people who are facilitating training around racism and how they navigate that space and the complexities that comes up. With that as well, we have one for newly qualified and students. and also looking at practice education as well. That's a massive issue in the UK as well. The racism that students face, again, it's not being dealt with, we don't feel like, sufficiently. So again, we're going to do some work around that. And then we have a space for white allies as well, because again, what we really are keen to do is to have a protective space for Black people, but also create a space for our white allies, for them to think about what their role is in combating racism. How can they work alongside us and not always be jumping in to try to
Yes.
to overtake, and tell us how we should be feeling. That kind of white saviorism. So how do they do that in a way that is conducive and can support what we're doing as well? So those will be running across the afternoon. Then at the end of the day, we have a session again by another therapist who's going to actually do a live kind of healing session for us, again, to think about what we've learned across the day, what we're going to take away, and how we can process all of those feelings. And then right at the end, one of our members, one of our long-time members, is gonna be singing for us. Now,
Okay.
she's got a beautiful singing voice, but hasn't released it to
Yes.
us.
Yes.
So that's going to be beautiful. Again, we're going to have cake because it's a birthday, it's a celebration, and as I said, the joy is going to be the thread that runs through everything. So serious work, but in a way that we can still leave uplifted as well.
And
That's the general outlook.
as what you said, this is a start of a major push, a major movement as well. Dr. Smith, you're saying, yeah, what are you saying?
Anything to add?
No, about the event next week.
Yeah, I mean, well, absolutely echo everything that Shantel has said, and I think when I think about my own workshop, right, because obviously I'm not involved in the others. When I think about my own workshop, one of the things that Sharon and I, who are going to be facilitating that workshop, we're really curious about.
I think I met you already, I think I met you already.
I know I've met you.
I'm just looking at you a while ago. Sorry, I changed it.
Yeah, I know I've met you, and I've watched some of your shows before, but I was trying to be under the quiet.
Yeah.
So, Shantel,
her voice is distinctive, isn't it?
No,
It's your
no,
voice
yeah.
still.
Listen.
Sorry.
All right, you throw me off now. You throw me off.
No, you said about your workshop, you and Sharon's workshop.
So our workshop, we're really curious to explore and examine what difference are we making. We're doing all this facilitating. We're doing sort of anti-racism training and so on. And both Sharon and I have come from more or less the same era. And we recall back in the day when we were doing sort of anti-racism training with often hostile staff, and often with folk Black people who are really kind of under it and afraid to speak their mind, to speak their truth, and so on. So we've come from that history. We're now in a space where we're thinking, okay, we do a lot of anti-racism training, but sometimes, what difference are we making? Where is all this going? Are we still doing it in the way that we want to do it? So we want to really examine what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it, and what impact we're having. So I think this conference represents an opportunity for us to do some deep reflection and take stock and think about what we're doing. Because I know sometimes we think, what, we're done. I always had a feeling that I actually wanted to just work with my own people and help my own people to kind of cope, recover, and survive in terms of what we're experiencing. But it can't go so. So so that's what we really want to engage with our participants on, and the others, no doubt, they'll have similar aspirations about what they want to achieve from their workshops.
And what I sense as well, I'm sure maybe this is something you guys are doing, is like maybe having a representative in different local authorities or so, from have I spilled the beans of what you guys
let me just say one thing though. One of the things that happened that the award ceremony that we were at last week, where we won the award.
We won! Winners wear gold, you get me?
All right. Cool down. What people were coming to ask us, who do you work for? What local authority do you work for? And I think we were quite proud to say, well, we actually don't work for any local authority.
Anybody.
Mm.
We do this totally
For
from
ourselves.
for ourselves,
Mm.
by ourselves, and we've not yet sat down to think about what we're doing in the next 12 months or so. But I'm not entirely sure that we want to really affiliate closely to one particular local authority.
Yes. Yes.
So I'm not quite sure. I can't really answer that question. I don't know
Yeah.
if, I mean,
I was gonna. No, you know, I've got
Chantel's a
something to say.
visionary.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a visionary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all I was going to say, there's something about not being attached to a local authority. And I
Yeah.
think that's important. And that's come up through conversations that people like the fact that
Get
it's
away.
outside,
Yes.
exactly, because they
Yes.
couldn't be so free in work. You know what it's like in work. You're under a microscope. Everyone's watching.
Yes.
Particularly
Yes.
if two or more black people are together, you're a gang. You know, what I mean, eyes are gonna be turned. So you don't need the microscope. We're already hyper visible and invisible at the same time. You know, you don't need any more sticks for them to beat you with. So there's something about creating this space outside. But as I say, it doesn't have to always be our space. Look at someone that's laughing. What are you laughing
No,
for,
no.
still? Because someone on your phone, innit? Anyway.
I'm getting messages right, left, and centre.
But yeah, there's something about creating independent. There's something
Yes.
important about it being independent, Silborn.
Right, right. Okay, I see where you're coming from. So therefore, this is a situation whereby persons can actually step out of their crazy world and step into
Step
this
into this
area of healing,
reimagined
you
new
know.
space. That's
And
right.
as you said in the initial stage, in your early days when you started it off, and you realized so many persons opened up to you, you realize that they can come into this space whereby what they're experiencing, others are experiencing, and how they went through it as well.
100%.
And who benefit from these? Children, isn't it?
Yeah.
Exactly. The children and the
Ultimately.
families that we work
Well, yeah.
with.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if we are of sound mind and we are able to sort of dispel some of the toxicity that we experience, of course our
Mm,
clients are going to benefit.
100%. Our
You know, and
families, our friends, you
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah.
Everyone's a winner.
We have to have
Everyone's a
somewhere
winner.
we have to have somewhere to process some of this stuff. I mean, even when you think about, I mean, I know that some of the training we do, and Chantel has designed an anti-racism training that I've been
mm,
involved in as well as a deliverer, where we talk about microaggressions, right? These are
Nothing
things.
micro about a microaggression,
No,
though, is there?
but people are experiencing these things on a regular basis, and it has a cumulative effect
yes.
where it's just toxic. So this space, it's purposely called a healing space,
Mm,
but equally it's an action space too. So hopefully
Mm,
we can heal, but we can also think about how we're going to move forward.
yeah.
what
Because
we're gonna do
Zuri
together.
Dijon said, I'm glad that the emphasis is on healing from the impact of racism and empowering our communities. European.
Mm,
Let's sort of pull back a bit and let's get into this whole thing. And we're in the
Let me
UK.
let me just say though, big up
Yeah.
Zuri.
Big up
Big up
Zuri.
Zuri, big up.
Big up
Is that your
Zuri.
Zuri? That's
That's
your
my
Zuri,
Zuri.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that's my
Okay.
Zuri. Yeah.
Big up Zuri.
Them
Big up Zuri.
large, the people them large. Sure.
Yeah. The whole impact of racism in the UK. Do you see it as something which is going down, stable, same as it is,
Hell no.
increasing?
Hell to the no.
Yeah,
Hell
yeah.
no.
Hell
Talk
to the
about that.
no.
Yeah. Mm.
Like I can't even say it in a nice, like.
I mean, let me just share
Go
something
on.
with you. I mean,
Mm,
obviously, I'm going to maintain confidentiality.
Yeah.
And I mean, I do some team consultancy work and one-to-one work with mentoring and so on, and
Mm.
coaching and so on.
Yeah.
And some of the things you're hearing, I mean, even though I've been in this game for many, many years,
it's
and
still
I'm
not
thinking,
true.
I think sometimes I think I live in a
Heard
bubble
it
because
all.
I'm thinking the kind of discussions we have, Shans, in A.R.M and whatever,
Mm,
and you're kind of thinking, no, that can't still be happening. No, that can't still be happening. Where you have white senior managers who will be saying to staff who are black and brown, do you know how difficult it is to manage black and brown people because we're frightened that we're going to be accused of being racist? Mind you, they still are bloody racist.
I was about to say, it doesn't stop
Yeah,
them, does it?
it doesn't stop them. and I'm still thinking, how is it with all this so-called progression that we've had? We've had the murder of George Floyd. We've had all these killings of our people and so on, and everyone's shocked and horror, whatever. And these things are still going on. They're still being said, and people are still fearful.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'll tell you what has changed. It's the boldness, because it's now so baked into the fabric. It's so woven into to everything that we do, see, say, smell, eat, that it can go on. People are not challenging because it's not so visible. Like, in America, it's quite in your face. It's quite
Yeah.
over. You can see it. You could, what I mean, it's the N word and all of these things. I think what's the difference with the UK, and often you hear that, oh, it's not as bad as America. It's probably worse in the UK because it's so subtle,
Subtle.
because
Yeah.
it's baked into the policies, into the day-to-day things that social workers coming from abroad won't see it, because it's so obvious. It's not so obvious, and because they're not used to the way how the system operates. They're walking into something totally blind. It's part and parcel of like, the system isn't broken. The system was designed this way. And I think what we have to do is get intentional about stopping, stepping back, and naming what we're feeling, putting words to what we see, putting words to what we experience, but also but has to be in a space where it's safe to do so, because you can't have these conversations with your white manager or other colleagues. And again, not all black people are the same. Not all skin folk are kinfolk. So that's another thing. You can have all 10 black people in a room. It doesn't mean you're all on the same page. It doesn't mean you're all going to be thinking and feeling the same thing. So that brings another layer. Go ahead,
What?
Dr. Silv.
Okay, but what I also think, and I hope, right, that we embrace in our group, is that we help people to have courage.
Yes.
Because the bottom line is, a lot of our folk are working in these situations in an isolated way. So sometimes they're the only ones. So one of the brilliant things, obviously, about our group is that they can come together and be be rebuilt, if you like.
Replenished.
But also replenished. That's the word. But hopefully they will also be empowered to go back and return to these spaces and have some courage about how they confront some of these issues, with the knowledge that they know they have a safe space where they can come back
to.
Because what we tend to do, we tend to question ourselves when we experience these things.
Yes.
Is it me?
Yes.
Is it racism? Am I overreacting? Am I oversensitive? And I'm sure this will be familiar to many of our viewers today. This is stuff that goes on for us every day. We have to. I was listening to this guy called I think he's called Eddie Hippolyte. He's someone on social media, and he was sort of saying stuff like, and he was talking about children, but I think we as adults experience the same thing. When we experience some kind of injustice or whatever, we don't even know who to tell within the organization.
Yeah.
We have to still start to filter. Who can we trust to tell? So all those dynamics are going on in our minds and in our hearts all the time. We're tired, man. And that's what we need to have. We need to have these spaces where we can come back and be,
So without divulging of anyone, but like a hypothetical, but which is a factual thing. Have you had what's the sort of situation you have with persons that you guys meet up with? Do they break down? Do they cry? What is sort of traumatic sort of idea? So sort of break it down a bit. I mean, without talking about anyone directly, but what is it like?
Well,
Go on. I was going to say, racial trauma. The symptoms of racial trauma are very similar to post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah.
So it could be things like vigilant. Sorry, things like paranoia, overeating or not eating enough. What's the other one? Tired, always being fatigued, constantly fatigued, constantly depressed, not wanting to socialize, constantly second guessing yourself, a low self-esteem. All of these things we attribute to other things, But once we start to unpack, and you know, and situations start to surface, it can always, you know, go back to a particular situation or scenario or a consistent state that one is in, that needs to be addressed, and sometimes it even goes back to childhood. But that's a
Right.
whole nother
That's a whole other
drama.
show.
It can go, yeah.
But I echo what Shans is saying. I mean, yeah, we do have people who become emotional in our spaces.
We become
You know,
emotional.
we
I'm going to be
become
honest.
emotional.
I am probably one of the emotional person. The most you know the word I'm trying to use. But anyway, go on, Sil.
You're
Sorry.
drinking too much beer, Liz.
I
You can't
think
get the
so.
word.
You
You
know,
can't
I
get the
can
word
get the
them
words
out.
out, I know, right? But
You want to drink liquor water. So yeah, so
bedtime, man.
yeah, it's past. Actually still, but it's past her bedtime. That's this is late for her. This is late.
Honestly,
So, but,
help
you
me.
know, but on a serious
Yeah.
note, yeah, people get emotional, and part of the beauty of what we do, I guess, and what we try to embrace as a collective, we try to take care of each other.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I mean that was so demonstrated when we won this award, and we had a couple of our members of the collective who accompanied us, the core group, and you know, I'm just thinking about when we realized that we won. But you know, the
The
sort of emotion,
elation.
the elation, the
Yeah.
tactile nature of, you know, our joy and so on.
Yes.
And I mean,
You
it was
know.
lovely. It was lovely to have those members with us, because that's
Yeah.
how we function. That's how we roll.
Mm.
We try to take care of each other. We are absolutely aware that, you know, what we experience is emotional, it's painful, and we make space for that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You know, we make
Well,
space
I've
for
got this. I've got this. I don't think this video is one that you guys gonna start laugh about.
Oh,
But
Please don't surprise us, Silver. Please.
no, no.
Hey,
Yeah,
I
video.
am Shantel Thomas. I am the founder of the Anti-Racism Movement, and I'm here to present to you today our annual national conference and our second year anniversary celebrations. The conference is entitled ICU or ICU, you know, just to really focus on the necessity of thinking about racism and the critical care that's needed if we are to overcome. The conference takes place on the 22nd of November, that's Friday the 22nd of November 2024, so just a few weeks away. Please come with us, come and engage with our values: passion, community, courage and connection. I have some fabulous keynote speaker. We have some absolutely interactive workshops you will hear more about. We have some music, we have singing, we have celebration, we have joy, and most of all we have good food and cake. Please sign up. We want to see all of you, you know, social workers, allied professionals, activists.
You do emphasize a lot on the food.
I'm
listen.
so glad, Silborn, that
I
you
walk with my
observed that.
belly. I walk with my belly.
I'm
Yeah.
so
Okay.
glad you observed that. I'll say no more.
Look.
Okay.
Go on,
Okay. Let's just hear.
Dr. Smith.
Yeah.
On anti-discriminatory and facilitators in the EDI space. We're going to do a really deep dive into our roles. We're going to be talking about what we do, how we do it, why we do it, are we having impact, what do we foresee for the future, how are we going to really make a change for the future. So that's the sort of stuff we're going to be talking about. And if you're interested in doing that, come join us.
I shared that video with a couple of persons, but I didn't ask you. It's okay to share it around.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it's it is
Okay,
absolutely.
Some of our shyer
Colleagues,
colleagues
won't appreciate that, will they?
won't appreciate that, but those of you who are watching, just let it go, This is
Settle yourself, man.
settle yourself. It's for the bigger picture, the bigger
That's
project.
right.
Yeah.
Them shy people, them introverts that we have
The
on our group.
introverts, yeah, we've got introvert, extrovert. We will split in two, and we just have to bring out the introverts, man, because you can't do nothing in this world if you're gonna keep shying away.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Well,
I'm an introvert.
And
I'm an introvert inside.
And a person on the side, if you have any questions to ask before we wrap up, but Nicola Martin has summed it up. Caribbean people could eat. You know?
There you go. Listen. Great discussion. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you,
Yes.
Zoe.
Thank you,
Oh,
Zuri,
race.
baby.
There's a point that Zuri Dijan said. It's a very important point. Racism strips you of the ability to be your authentic self.
Oh
Truly a
God,
crime
yes.
against humanity, in your opinion. In his opinion, Zuri is a male. Is a male? Is a
No,
male?
no, no.
No, so
A,
it's a
a
lady. It's
woman,
a
It's a lady. My
female.
a
apologies.
woman,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
a
I
sister.
think. Yeah, I think it is so crucial that when it comes on to that's why I asked the question, the bigger picture of racism. You got the Windrush factor. You got all these different things, and sometimes it's like there's a trauma there. And when you look on the whole issue about, let's divulge and get into the zone where I like to get into reparation for argument's sake,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
whereby it is something that the British, all of them, Rishi, King, everybody,
Kemi.
Queen, none of them is gonna put is because it's a national policy. But one of the key thing which is not being said and is not being touched on is an apology for the gruesome thing that happened to black people. An apology. They fear that if they apologize, they have to pay. But the thing about an
That's it,
apology, just like the
exactly.
Truth and Reconciliation Commission, is like even in Jamaica, you need that whole thing from the war, the crimes and all those shooting up from years ago. You even need that in Jamaica, a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, whereby you can get into the historical factors of these things, and you'll be surprised how much it will unearth and free up a lot of people. There's a saying in law which has said, "Take your victim as you find them." So another person can say, "No big deal with me," but another person, it might be impactful on them. Doesn't mean to say it is, just because you might not feel it, but you'll be surprised. You might not feel it or say you feel it, but when it really push come to shove, you'll see how you realize there are lots of layers on person that need to be unpicked, as you rightly said, Chantel, earlier.
Well, I mean, I do think that when you think about some of our sort of core values, well, certainly in terms of A.R.M, but as individuals, even as social workers, we place a high premium on truth. All right, we place a high premium on truth, and if we're not able to speak ours, and we're not able to have our truth acknowledged, it's going to be a tough road ahead. And I think that's probably why we just keep, stumbling. At some points we seem to be making progress, and then twos, we're back to square one.
It's like Calypso, feeling hot. You step forward. You go. Chantel, take it easy, Chantel.
Sorry.
You know what I mean? She needs to go to bed right now. Have that drink and get to her bed.
Allow me.
Yeah.
No, sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but anyway, it's very interesting discussion, and thanks you guys for coming on. And
pleasure.
my mate and I is here from the States, and we're contemplating whether we should do the show or not. But then after speaking with you, Chantel, I just said, let me just make the show focus just beyond this. Because normally I go on to different discussions after, but just keep it tight, and therefore persons can watch it and actually get something. And I hope that it can be shared, and for social workers can realize that there is an outlet.
100%, and that's what we want. That's what we want.
An outlet, because as you know, I'm in that other field. I'm in the other side of being a Jackie lawyer, so I see the other side at the same time from the legal perspective, and there's always this thing all the while, when you have the Victor Klimby, the baby P, and all those sort of things, you always hear about the social worker, but what many people fail to understand is that social workers save so many children's lives, but you don't hear those. But you only hear about that one or the
When
two.
it gets wrong, that's right.
And
we don't hear about how the system has played a role. How are the system set up? In order to create. There's going to be more baby P's. There'll be more Victoria Klimbiers, because the system is still it's not, well, it's doing what it's designed to do.
Yes.
Well, can I also make a shameless plug? We have a podcast, the A.R.M podcast. It's A.R.M. So that comes out periodically. But I also have a podcast called Social Workers Matter.
Social
And
workers matter, yeah.
yeah,
Frozen.
Oh, where's she
Um,
gone? I
do you
think
know
what
it?
she was going to say, what she's going
We
to say,
feel it.
social workers matter kind of
Yeah.
came out as a way to reclaim our voice. So it was
Mm,
that podcast started many years before Arma, but she started that one because of all the negative narrative that was coming out about social work and us always getting the bad press, and it was again to talk about the positive things that we do and the people, the different elements of the work that we do. Social work spans
yeah.
such a massive range,
Yeah.
and all of the good stuff. So what she does on her platform is she interviews
Yeah.
quite prominent people in the space, and for people to tell their stories again. So I can give you the details for Social Workers Matters podcast. Again,
Okay.
some really interesting people on her platform as well.
Okay. Fantastic. And for anyone want to reach out to you guys, it's anti-racist move
At
at
gmail.com.
gmail.com, and your LinkedIn is Shantel B. Thomas.
Thomas, that's
Yeah.
correct. Also on Instagram, anti-racist move,
Yeah.
and on Insta under my name, Shantel Thomas as well. So those are the best ways. We are in the process of developing a website. Hi, Sylvia, back.
yeah, yeah. It's I'm tethering, so oh god.
Yeah.
Okay, no, no. I just added a bit about your podcast, so I
Yeah,
said a bit
sure.
about
Okay.
that,
No worries.
and
No
just
Yeah.
saying
worries.
about where they can find us as well,
Yes.
is really important. But yeah, please do reach out, if you need any kind of support advice. We can definitely signpost. We can
Yes.
invite you to our space. There's so much we can do, and we want to do more. Also, if there's anybody out there corporately, who wants to fund us, or
Mm,
we can partner with. We're not we we're happy to have discussions. Again, we're quite strict about who we partner with. Like we've got
yes.
anyone to partner with at the moment, but you know what I mean. We're not going to give up our values just because
Yes.
of money.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah, if we want to take it to another level, we can't do this on voluntary
Yeah.
wages.
Yeah. So
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 yeah,
so ladies and gentlemen, that is anti-racist movement. I like your logo there as
thank
well.
you.
And anti-racist movement presents I See You conference, which is Friday the 22nd of November, 9:30 a.m. Evershot Street. And as you said, you're not streaming, but I don't know if you're going to be recording as well. I don't know.
Well, we
You're
will
working on
record
it.
aspects of it because
Yes.
we have some folk who are going to come and do some media
Yes.
work for us. But perhaps next year,
Yeah. Yeah.
who
We
knows? You know what
well,
I mean?
well
Yeah,
we're LinkedIn now. When I say LinkedIn, I mean we're connected now and so like
connected.
and,
Yeah,
and we can work on things in the future and so like that. And just keep me posted with any developments.
100%
You're a
we will.
guest on the show and stuff like that. We can talk on different issues, because you're not just about arm. You're talking about you're into issues about racism. You're into about I see you're into some political issues as well at the same time.
Okay, of
Mm.
course.
You
Yeah, yeah,
guys
yeah,
work
yeah.
on
We're more than a one-trick pony. We have
That's
a lot.
right.
We have a lot to offer. Look
yes,
at me. Look
yes.
at me.
And
Look at
and,
me.
and, I, and I think that the essence of black people in the UK is that there's a power when it comes on to unity and to be united
100%.
together collectively. And I believe that is one of the key essence of everything, because there's a guy in Grey's Anatomy, that movie or that show, and he said just because we bleed, just because we're magic, that doesn't mean to say we don't bleed.
Absolutely.
Just because we're
Oh.
magic, that doesn't mean so we don't bleed. I always
Mm.
remember that guy when he said, when he gave
Mm,
that speech at time, and there's something very dynamic, you know, about us black people, at the same time. And I think the when people sometimes say to me, um, Virgin, go back to Jamaica, man, because I came here in '92 to this country, and
Okay.
as a young man, and guys, I'm always say, Virgin, come back to Jamaica, man, leave the Babylon system, and but then I look around me because I got two children in this country now, and my wife, and I look around me, I see lots of kids, children, my daughter
mm,
friends, and I say, no, you can't just run up and dash
pack
away
up
and
and
leave,
go.
yeah,
Mm,
because the children over here also don't want to be fighting the battles that we should have
mm,
fought. They should be fighting the battles for themselves when
that's
they
right.
come around, but we should be fighting our battles now to make it
Easier.
easier for them, and
Mm,
that's a fundamental thing that I see as well.
mm,
And so less of us fighting each other, but
Fighting.
collectively. I always talk about this thing, so I'm going off. This is where I get off in my zone now. I always talk about this thing called the black element, and when I devise that concept there, the black element, it is like you're finding that common ground, that common denominator, and then you work at it. Me to say that we're not all going to agree on everything.
Absolutely.
But we find that common ground. And the Governor General in Jamaica always say, what is wrong with Jamaica can be made right with what is right for Jamaica. And it's like, what is, and if that applies in different way, the ambassador, the Governor General always says, even though we need to get rid of him, still we'll get rid of the king. Money, you know what I mean?
Listen. We're not in that. We're not in that anti-racist movement. That's what we're there. We're not in that one. Keep us out of that one.
Honestly.
Okay, someone just asked a question. Talk and sip, be your authentic self. We love you, ladies.
Thank you.
Someone asking if this is a group they can join. Someone asking if it's a group they can join.
Absolutely.
Just send an
We can have a
email.
conversation. Send me an email and we can connect. Definitely. Of course.
Caribbean diaspora is real and powerful. Great
Mm.
listening to you guys, Shantel, Sylvia. So proud of you both and the movement.
Big up, Dylan. Big up, Dylan. Big up, Dylan. Dee, big up.
Come on, I got the gold dress and I got
Be of yourself. Fix up.
Well done, Dylan. Well done.
All right. We send our what? Oh my days, 23:32. We have 2 minutes late. We just sent out a red long time.
Unallow me.
Can you ask them about if there are others that can? Okay.
Yeah, that one.
People WhatsApp me. Okay. All right. Okay. So, well, thank you so much, guys. And
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Any last word or anything you guys want to say?
I just want to say to people, if you haven't already got your tickets, please get your tickets. 22nd of November, it's going to be lit. It's going to be live. It's going to be lively. It's also going to be empowering and encouraging as well. So please do reach out on our platforms. Anybody who's got money, who wants to collaborate, come on. Yes, we need your money. No, on a serious note, come to the conference, come and meet us. We'll definitely love to connect with you. Appreciate you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank
Such
you.
a great discussion. So congratulations, ladies.
Thank
Shelley and
you.
Shelley Brown, so yeah. Okay. Have a good night, and thank you so much for joining, ladies.
And thank you to your listeners for listening to us as well. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been lovely, man. It's been lovely.
Absolutely. Big up, Sylvie.
All right, Shan.
Silvan, look at that. Silvan and Sylvie.
Don't stop.
Sorry.
Take it easy, man.
See you guys later. Take care. Take good care. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for joining tonight on the show. Very inspirational discussion with the ladies. Dr. Sylvie and Shantel, met them today, and really open up the platform to them so they can share their views, share their vision, and also for us to be empowered on this Saturday night. Well, without further ado, I want to thank those who are joining. Actually, I didn't actually go on to Instagram. Okay, over Instagram. Hey, Kamal, how are you? Kwame, King David, White Corey, Bella De Kaf, David Chen. Big up, guys. And also on TikTok. As I say with TikTok, you got to make sure that you join over onto the YouTube channel, Silburn TV, and you can watch the full show, full discussion. There's many more discussions going to be happening because I'm getting a lot of requests for persons who want to join the show. But I'm going to have a very interesting one regarding this gentleman that does polo, which we're going to have a discussion on that at some other time very soon. So without further ado, I want to thank you for joining. Remember to like and subscribe and join the show, and remember to subscribe as well. So, and make sure you come to the event for the ladies, the Anti-Racist Movement presents I See You Conference, Friday the 22nd of November, 9:30 a.m. and that's at 218 Evershot Street, London, NW1 1BD. Make sure you tune in that, and it's a safe space for persons to actually to tune in. Okay, so without further ado, have a good night and may God bless you. Bye bye.